All right, so ready to tackle a question that's both fascinating and, well, a little unsettling.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Can happiness and artistic brilliance actually coexist?
Ooh, that's a good one.
We're going to try to figure that out
Yeah.
by looking at this audio drama called Not Another Happy Ending.
Okay.
So we've got a writer, Jane Lockhart, dealing with the aftermath of her crazy successful debut novel.
Okay.
And her publisher, Tom, who's convinced that misery is the key to great art. So get ready for a deep dive.
All right, let's do it.
Into their tangled relationship and the creative process itself.
It's funny how the drama kicks off with this like built-in irony.
Yeah.
Jane's debut novel called Happy Ending
Right.
was originally titled The Endless Anguish of My Father.
Wow, that's quite a change.
Just that title change alone kind of hints at the whole messy relationship between her personal life and, well, her art.
It makes you wonder if the title change was like giving in to the pressure to package even the darkest stories with a nice feel-good ending.
Yeah.
And then you add in the fact that her novel's themes really messed with her relationship with her own father.
Oh, wow.
It's like life imitating art, imitating life.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you've got Tom, her publisher.
Oh, yeah, Tom.
He's got this, well, unconventional, almost radical approach to how to like nurture Jane's creativity.
Interesting.
He's convinced that misery is the fuel, the driving force behind her best writing. So he decides to make her life as miserable as possible, thinking it'll kickstart her writing for the second novel.
That's a bold strategy, you gotta admit. He goes to some pretty extreme length.
Yeah, he does.
Orchestrating these elaborate schemes to just disrupt her life.
Oh, yeah.
He even pulls his assistant, Rowdy, into the whole thing.
Remember the Dead Plant episode?
Poor Rowdy.
Having to play the botanical Grim Reaper, basically.
It really makes you question the boundaries, right?
All right, yeah.
How far is too far when you're trying to support an artist?
Right.
But with Tom, it's clear that he really believes in Jane's talent.
He does.
It seems like he's willing to make these sacrifices, even if it means pushing her away or, staging a minor plant homicide.
Right, exactly.
All in the name of her art.
It's for her art.
Isn't it interesting that Tom seems to, embody that old stereotype of a tortured artist?
Yeah, you're right.
It's like he's almost forcing that identity onto Jane, assuming that her best work has to come from suffering. But throughout the audio drama, we see other characters who kind of challenge that idea.
Oh, interesting.
Like Willie, for example, he prefers to write naked.
Oh, really?
He claims it frees his mind.
Okay.
It's definitely a bit eccentric, but it does make you think, are there as many ways to be creative?
That's a good question.
As there are writers in the world.
It really is. And this is where the real conflict starts brewing.
Yeah.
Jane, even though she had that initial success, begins to question this whole misery breeds genius thing.
Right.
She starts pushing back against Tom's attempts to, orchestrate her life.
Makes sense.
She realizes her inspiration can come from other places, too.
Yeah.
From moments of joy and connection, not just pain.
This feels like such a turning point in their relationship.
It is.
You can almost feel the power dynamic shifting
Yeah.
as Jane starts to assert her own creative independence.
That's right.
But then Tom makes this huge, maybe unexpected decision.
Okay.
He sells his publishing company.
Whoa. So on the surface, it looks like this big, grand gesture of love and sacrifice, right? Giving Jane the space she needs to finish her novel.
But could there be more to it?
Yeah, maybe.
Could it be that by giving up control of her career, Tom's actually trying to manipulate the situation in a different way?
Oh, interesting.
Hoping to win back her affection.
That's a good point. It's a complicated move, right?
It is.
Could have a bunch of different motivations behind it.
It makes you wonder if someone can ever be truly selfless.
Right.
In a relationship as messy as theirs.
Yeah.
You've got all this history, hints of a past romance. It's like their personal and professional lives are constantly tangled up.
Totally.
Creating this constant tension.
And that tension is never more obvious than in that scene where Tom finds Jane at her mother's grave.
Oh, yeah.
It's this moment where all the pretense is gone. He finally lets his guard down.
Okay.
Showing how much he actually cares about her.
There's just such raw vulnerability in that scene.
Yeah.
It's so different from his usual, calculated and controlling behavior.
Right.
It makes you question everything you thought you knew about Tom. about his reasons for doing things and about how deep his feelings for Jane actually go.
Totally.
It's in this moment of honesty that their relationship starts to shift.
Yeah.
Opening up the possibility of them reconciling.
And this shift ultimately leads to Jane finishing her novel.
Okay.
But there's one last hurdle they got to get over.
Oh.
A disagreement that goes to the core of how they think about art. The ending of Jane's book. I think Tom's not just like disagreeing with a happy ending, you know?
Okay, yeah.
It seems like it's more than just, you know, artistic preference.
Right.
He's afraid that the happy ending means like Jane's closing the book.
Yeah.
On their relationship too.
And let's face it, that fear isn't totally out there, right?
No, not really.
Jane basically admitted that Tom was her block, implying their whole messed up dynamic was holding back her writing.
Exactly.
So maybe Tom's right to be worried that a happy ending for her characters means he's getting the boot too.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it?
What's that?
If sometimes the stuff we create is really just us reflecting our deepest, you know, desires and fears.
It's a tricky balance, isn't it?
It is.
On the one hand, we don't want to just reduce art to the artist's personal life experiences.
No, of course not.
But then again, it's obvious that our lives and relationships and emotions, they all bleed into our creative work.
They do.
Yeah.
And Jane and Tom's case, it's like their personal and professional lives are so intertwined that you can't even tell where one ends and the other begins.
It's like they're constantly tiptoeing through this minefield of emotional baggage while trying to work together.
And trying to have a relationship.
It's no wonder their communication is so full of like misunderstandings and unspoken expectations.
This brings us back to Tom's decision.
Okay.
To sell the publishing company. We said it seemed selfless.
Yeah.
But could it also be like a surrender?
Oh, interesting.
He's letting go of control over Jane's career.
Right.
Admitting that he can't force her
to
fit into his idea of what her writing should be.
I think you've hit on something really important there.
You think so?
It's like he's finally accepting that he can't manipulate her into being miserable. He's realizing that her happiness is actually more important than his own ideas about art.
That's a powerful realization.
It's kind of bittersweet though, right?
It is.
Full of loss, but also this glimmer of hope for something new.
Exactly. And this letting go, it allows Jane to find her own path.
Okay.
Creatively and personally.
Right.
She finishes the novel on her own terms, embracing a happy ending that shows, you know, her newfound sense of peace and self-discovery.
And it's not just about, like, romantic happiness, is it?
No, not at all.
Remember, all through the audio drama, we see Jane struggling with her dad. He walked out when she was a kid, and she's still carrying all that pain. But then at the end, we see them starting to rebuild their relationship.
Oh, that's good.
Suggesting that even the most broken relationships can heal.
It adds another layer to the whole happy ending idea, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just about romantic love.
Right.
But finding peace within ourselves and our families.
It speaks to that deep human need for connection and forgiveness, you know?
Absolutely. Jane choosing a happy ending for her novel, it's almost like she's defying this expectation.
What do you mean?
That great art has to come from suffering.
Ah, I see.
She's proving that happiness can be just as powerful a creative force as misery.
Okay.
And that stories can offer hope and redemption.
Right, right.
Even when they explore dark themes.
It's a message that really hits home, I think.
It does.
Especially in a world where people often think that being serious means being miserable.
Exactly. It makes you think, can you have joy and lightness in serious literature?
Exactly. And while Jane finds closure through her writing, what about her and Tom? Can they work through their differences?
It's a good question.
Will Tom be able to accept her choice of ending?
Right.
And, more importantly, accept her newfound happiness?
That's what we'll find out
in
the last part of our deep dive.
Before we get there, though,
I
want to pause for a sec.
Okay.
Does choosing a happy ending make a story less complex? Can happiness and artistic brilliance really go hand in hand?
Those are good questions worth thinking about.
You know, thinking about not another happy ending some more, it really hits me how important the other characters are. You know, not just Jane and Tom.
Right.
They really help us understand the bigger themes.
That's true. They're not just background noise, are they?
Exactly.
They each add something unique to the story.
Like Rowdy, for instance.
Oh, Rowdy.
Brahm's poor assistant.
Yeah, the guy's always stuck in the middle.
Right.
Tom's crazy schemes.
To make Jane miserable, yeah.
But there's something really genuine about him, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
He's kind of the opposite of Tom's cynicism.
Right.
Reminding us that even when things are absurd, there's still room for compassion.
Rowdy's almost like the audience, you know?
Oh, I see what you mean.
He's skeptical of Tom's methods, but he's still loyal.
Yeah.
Which makes for some hilarious moments, by the way.
Oh, totally. Like when...
Remember when Tom suggested they kill a dog? You know, inspired Jane.
Give her some material, yeah, right?
Roddy's reaction was priceless.
It was. Pure horror and disbelief.
Exactly. Like, is this guy serious?
He's the voice of reason in this whole crazy situation.
Totally.
And then you've got Willie Scott.
Oh, yeah, the other writer.
His whole approach to writing is the polar opposite of Tom's.
Right. Naked and free.
Naked. And claiming it unlocks his mind. It's out there, for sure.
Definitely a bit eccentric.
But it really challenges that whole image.
Of the tortured artist.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Willie's successful and happy, doing things his own way.
Proving there's no one right way to be creative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like he embodies this idea that joy and playfulness can be just as powerful as suffering.
Okay.
When it comes to, you know, unlocking that creative potential.
I like that.
He's a reminder not to take ourselves too seriously.
Right. Even when we're dealing with heavy stuff.
Exactly.
And we can't forget Jane's father.
Oh, right. Their relationship adds so much depth to the story.
Yeah, it's complicated.
He keeps trying to reconnect with her.
It's kind of awkward sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
But you can see he's really sorry. And he wants to make things right.
He wants that connection.
Yeah, it shows that everyone wants to be close to someone, right?
That need for connection and forgiveness, even when we've messed up.
That scene at the cemetery gets me every time.
Oh, I know.
When he finally apologizes for leaving her.
It's powerful stuff. Really shows that even the deepest wounds can heal.
Exactly. And in the end, Not Another Happy Ending isn't just about, like, romantic love.
No, it's bigger than that.
Or even the creative process.
It's about that human connection.
Yeah.
In all its forms.
The good, the bad, the messy.
Yeah, all of it.
But ultimately, how we find redemption in our relationships.
With ourselves and with other people.
It's a story that makes you question your ideas about success and happiness.
Yeah.
And to find your own path.
Embrace those twists and turns.
Right.
The good and the bad.
Life is full of surprises. And sometimes the best endings are the ones we least expect.
So true.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Not Another Happy Ending,
it really leaves you with something to think about, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you wonder, what does your happy ending look like?
That's a good question. Is it some big gesture? Or a quiet moment of contentment?
Or something else entirely?
Don't be afraid to rewrite your own story's ending. You know?
I love that.
Embrace the unexpected, the challenges.
Yeah.
And remember, even when things are tough, there's always a chance for a new beginning.
And that's the beauty of Not Another Happy Ending.
It sticks with you.
It really does.
Makes you think about your own life.
Yeah.
Your relationships, your own search for happiness.
It's a reminder that stories have this power.
To connect us.
Exactly.
To inspire us.
And to remind us that even in the darkest times, there's always hope. Always a chance for a happy ending.
Maybe not the one we planned on.
But one that feels real.
Yeah. Authentic to our own journey.
That's what matters.
And that's it for this deep dive into Not Another Happy Ending. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.